everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and this is one of the demons from the November box from DungeonSwag, and I want to paint it up, but unfortunately I'm kind of locked in a bad situation because someone on the Discord already started painting these, and they're mostly done, and they look really damn good. And we were joking about doing neon colors, and I wasn't really joking. I kind of want to try to do some neon colors. I've never done any neon stuff. Oh, shit. Hold on. Let me get my hot glue gun on, and we'll just grab a little holder to get me started here until that's warmed up. God, I love having arthritis. Can't even get the damn thing open. All right. So I can use that to get started. So I'm going to get a small brush. And I think I'm going to do mostly a small brush on this whole mini. I'm not going to use any big brush stuff that I'm aware of. So I'm going to start by trying to coat all his areas in a mid-tone of green where his flesh is. And I'm using a thin coat. Just to get started. See how it looks. Now, as I said, I've not done neons before. And I am using craft paint this time. So using greens on something like a model like this, you don't want people to think it's supposed to be an orc of some sort. So you got to kind of... I had to think about this a little bit before I got started. I didn't just like start painting. I thought about how I was going to do this. And I wasn't really happy with all the color choices that I had either, which didn't help. I swear, everybody wants to drive down my street this morning. Usually my street's fairly quiet. Now, perfection and coverage right here, I don't think is going to be the key. I think the key is going to be to at least make sure that I have a semi-decent base coat so that I can create some variation with the next paint. Yeah, we don't want these to look like orcs when we're done, for sure. And gee, thanks, Sweeney, for doing a nice job on yours and making me feel like I got to really step my game up. If I was the only one painting one of these that I knew of, I wouldn't be overly worried about it, because a lot of the people that buy our miniatures don't ever show us what they look like when they're done. I think they just buy them and put them in their piles of shame, really. But Sweeney doesn't. So, well, there's a few others that have painted the freebies we sent out and stuff, and they've shown us. But as far as like people that get the monthly box, I don't think too many people ever show us what they've done with them. Now, this is not the actual hand that goes to this miniature. I lost it on my garage floor. I spent 45 minutes looking for it and finally gave up. So I just took one from a mini that I didn't plan on assembling and threw it on here, and it looks okay. So my plan is to do this real thin base coat and then to do a little bit lighter of a tone, different base coat, just kind of giving it some variation. And then with a series of very careful dry brushes and highlights, trying to make him look neon. That's way too much paint. So we'll have to spread that around and connect it everywhere I can to kind of thin that out more than I wanted it to be. And I also want these to be neon, but I don't want them to be obnoxious. That's the other thing I want to accomplish. And I thought about how to do that, and I don't have a good idea. I think one of the secrets is going to be to when you're doing when I'm doing the little back spikes and stuff on him, is to these little teeny spikes, is to make those look as like realistic as I can using real colors, and then see what I can do about that there, and see, like, I think that'll help take away like the cartooniness of the neon, but I'm not sure. I'm not a big bright colors person, so this is actually, you know, some of the D&D monsters I've made for the monster manual on the channel have been kind of more like bright colored than I like, and I always feel very uncomfortable doing bright colors. I never feel like really satisfied with how they look. All right, we need to get under that arm a little bit there. All right, I think I painted all his flesh. Gosh, I hope so. All right, so I'm going to put this paint to the side. That was Kelly green. And the next color I'm going to get is called marsh green. Or palm leaf. I can't remember which one. Is it the marsh or the palm leaf? Yeah, I'm going to use this palm leaf. And I'm going to clean out my brush, and I'm going to hit him with the hot air gun. Now, this next coat of green, I think to save time, I'm going to use kind of a fatter brush. That's the Kelly green again. And this is going to be the beginning of what looks neon. And I'm just going to get a little bit of water and wipe a lot of that out of my brush. I just want it to be damp. Well, let's smooth that out and see what we got. Okay, good. And I'm not focusing on hitting everywhere perfectly. Oh, there's his hand. I pulled his damn hand right out. Okay. I knew I should have super glued that. But I already had some Elmer's on the table. And I get super glue on my hands all the damn time. So I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be clever, and a little bit of Elmer's, since that fits in there pretty snug, will hold that. That was my thought. I was not right. A little bit of stupid glue. I'm going to need some tweezers. Oh, crap. I don't want to lose this hand, too. Oh, hell, Chris. You know what I'm going to do? I get that pretty wet. I'm going to stick that in there. I almost lost it. And I'm going to get a tiny bit of baking soda. Oh, Christ. All right, my hands are not behaving at all today. I'm making a terrible mess. Damn you. All right, calm down. I'm gonna get glue all over my hand now. And that's okay. Now my joint's all bonked up. Yeah, my hand's not fitting in the joint nice now because I did all that stupid shit. Should have just done it right in the first place. It was like just kind of holding it in there on its own before. All right. I'm going to put the glue. This is how things get ruined, guys. Oh, that is too much damn glue. Hold on. And you were watching the beginning of how you turn something nice into something horrible. All right. This is obviously going to add way more time onto this than we wanted. If this was the actual hand that went here, we wouldn't be having this problem for damn sure. Because it had fit in there real nice. Because I actually used clear Elmer's on this hand here. And this is the hand that's supposed to go there. So, all right, I think that's going to hold for now. I'm going to get a piece of toilet paper and make sure there's no moisture to steal. And if you do this, do it very quickly. Then the other thing you can do, if you think that the glue might be damp still, you could sprinkle some baking soda on there. And blow that off. And that looks pretty dry. Yeah. No big, none of that glue is still damp. All right, sorry about that. Rushing will get me every time, and it does. I'm gonna turn this around now. So so I don't accidentally touch the glue with my brush. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and start hitting him again. And I'm going to try to lighten him up some more with a different green. So that was the apple, or the palm leaf, and it really did zing him out. Now the next one I'm going to use is limeade. And what I want to do is, even though I don't want to paint all over the whole miniature, because I have to come back and paint it again anyways, but I do want, this is not dry all the way. Let me get one that's dry. With this first coat here, to lighten him up drastically. Start looking for that neon glow is what I'm looking for. And this is actually really damn bright. I did not realize how bright that would be, but that's okay. That's what we needed for our neon demon. For those of you that understand the reference of the neon demon, please leave me a message down in the comments telling me about how you feel about neon demons. And I'm not talking about the modern neon demon like testimony thing. I'm talking about the, you know, the real original Neon Demons thing. The movie, not the, you know. It's pretty obnoxious and vibrant. Let's go a little lighter with it. I don't know if we can do that. This color is called Kiwi. When you watch this, if you do watch this, Sweeney, this is your fault that I'm having to figure this out. Just so you know. Now I'm going to get a little bit of white. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Oh, that's a lot of white. I was going to get a little bit of white. Now I'm worried about getting too much on my brush. Okay. That's pretty damn neon. All right. Oh, where do I go from here? So first I'm going to get some khaki in that little brush. I'm going to do all the horns and stuff. Now, I originally was going to do these in black, but I thought with the neon green, it might look a little cartoony. I wasn't sure. So I decided to do more of a bone kind of look instead of like a ram's horn kind of look. And we'll see how that looks in the end. Man, I'm not even sure how to get into those spikes there. I can bring this down some so you can see what I'm doing. It's really tiny work. I mean, these are just the tiniest little spikes. But I want to do a good job. I think that's the only horn stuff we have to do. He does have some nails. Those little feet. I think this is supposed to be a little bit of horns over here on this arm too. I don't see any other horns. Well, that's not true really, because he has these little ones on his chin. And then he has some in his mouth too. Well, those are called teeth. Okay. Now let's get a brown. This is called chocolate bar. It's like a reddish brown. And let's start trying to do something with some of this leather. And we have to be super careful here because we do not want to screw up the neon green. The obnoxiously bright neon green. When I'm doing like outline stuff like this, I try to pretend that I'm not painting, that I'm using like a marker or a pen. But lately my hands have been shaking so bad that I can't seem to make that technique rock. Now, if you get a little bit on that buckle, I wouldn't worry about it. You can just come back and paint that pretty easily. Now we got some kind of like skirt. And I'm going to use melted chocolate for that. So I'm getting my brush damp. Then I'm going to touch some spots along that belt. Just kind of break that up, how red that is. So he's got like a rope belt going around there. I'm going to get territorial beige, which is like a, well, it's like a beige, duh. And I'm going to very carefully paint that. Getting my brush damp. All right. I'm going to base coat the skulls on his belt in that too. And then we'll take a second and hit him with the air gun. Okay, I'm not sure where to go from here, so let's start doing some of the metallics. Maybe, if I can find my damn metallic color I like. All right, so this is Folk Art Brushed Metal, Brushed Dark Gray. We have several layers of metal, but we're going to make it easier and to avoid making mistakes, we're going to paint all those this color first, and then we're going to work around and make amendments to those. I'm just going to keep working on the metals. My little baby cousins are freaking 18 years old now. I can remember. It's so weird, you know. Didn't seem like long ago. I was holding them when they were little babies. They're twins. And now they're big, stinky grown-ups. I'm going to be very careful on this knee guard because I don't want to get any of the other work I've done ruined. I'm going to need to moisten my brush soon. When it starts dragging and not leaving smooth coats, either your paint's too dry or your brush is too dry. And in many cases, it's going to be your brush. I don't like to put metallic paint in my mouth. Personal preference. So for those of you that see that I always eat my brush, I don't generally eat metallic. For being like such a bright color that I normally would never ever do, I actually don't hate this as much as I thought I would. It looks okay-ish. Let's start doing this hammer and see if I agree with that still when I'm done. Now, I am a lazy painter. If you were up here close looking at this, you would see there's little teeny bits of green sticking out in different spots because I am just lazy. And because I think whenever I do like my final brushes on these things, it'll cover a lot of it up, so I'm willing to take that risk. There's always the opportunity to do highlighting or to do any kind of special little detail to hide things you don't like too, which is kind of one of my lazy approaches to things. So up to this point, I think we've only used craft paint. I'm not super unhappy with the results. But now let's get that khaki that we used on his antlers or horns or whatever they are back out. And let's deal with his belt. So we want to kind of thin this down and wipe a lot of that off so that we're only catching the cord texture on that belt. We don't want it going in all the cracks. Then we want to lighten up these skulls, but you don't want to hit these like perfectly. You just want to kind of like do some of the surface on them. And you can kind of come back around on the belt and lighten that up a little bit more in just a couple little spots. But don't do too much because we're going to come back and do something else on that. You don't want to make it super duper bright and obnoxious. So with the same color that we used there, we're also going to come around and we're going to touch on that belt to make some worn leather. So this guy's not wearing a brand new beautiful sash. You know, this has been battle worn and he's had it on for a long time. And we're going to lighten up a little bit of this robe with this damp kind of smooth. That's a word I made up. It's not a real word. Smooth. Okay. We're going to dry that brush out. I'm going to get a different brush now, one that's not wet at all. And I'm going to get an off-white color. I have two different off-white colors I think I'm going to use. One is called Antique White and the other is called Ivory. I'm going to start with Ivory on the belt. And I'm going to use a very small brush. And I'm going to wipe a lot of that paint off. I'm going to touch my skulls with it. And I'm going to start running it just gently along that belt. Just real gently, catching some texture. You don't want a lot of paint on your brush for this. Because if you look on that belt, I don't know how you can see that. It actually has like a braided rope texture. Okay. Now I'm going to get that same color. I'm going to wipe a lot off. And I'm going to touch his horns with it a little bit. I'm going to touch these little spikes on his face. A little bit. Then I'm going to put that away. And I'm going to get the Antique White. I'm just going to rub a couple spots on that belt. Lighten that up a little bit. Starting to look okay. All right, handle of the axe. Or not axe, hammer. This is an orangish brown color called chestnut that I'm going to carefully, very carefully, just come in here and create the illusion that I have nicely painted that. My brush is fairly damp. And a little bit of green is shown through, and that's okay. I don't think we're going to notice that in the end here. And since I have that, and it's a little bit damp, I'm just going to drag that around on his clothing a little bit. And a little bit on his sash, or his belt, you know, for the pauldron. Okay, now I'm going to get a very small brush. And I'm going to use this same color to do the straps on his boots, or whatever these things are, these straps that are on his legs. I'm going to do these with that. Now, when you're doing something like this, you could really, honestly, just not even paint it at all, I think. And most people probably wouldn't catch it because it's such a fine detail. And if you overpaint it, it's going to be very noticeable. If you try to do multiple, unless you're using like a magnifying glass or a vise and stuff, you know, really going into too much work onto this is almost impossible. I can't imagine me pulling the magnifying glass out and putting my rig with my light up for to paint on a video. I don't know how I can make that work. There are people that do it. I just don't know how I could make it work. Okay. So underpainting is the secret to not destroying those feet. They look like they're wearing some kind of straps, and that's what you wanted to accomplish. Now for his eyes. I don't know. I'm going to get some yellow. Get in there with that. I'll let that dry for a minute. And while I'm letting that dry, I'm getting this color here. It's just red. And I'm going to get a tiny little bit of this on my brush. And then I'm going to get some water. And I'm going to keep thinning this down till it's like coffee. Then put it in his mouth. And if you do it thin enough, you'll still see his little teeth sticking out. I had that red out already. So I'm just going to do the tiniest little pupils. Starting to look okay. All right. Oh, that's already got a lid. Now I'm putting my this brush away, and I'm using that antique white. And I'm going to come back and touch all those little dots on his back where those spikes are real quick. Just touching the tips of those. Sorry, Sweeney. I'm not as good. And I'm slow today. There's this one dude, his wife's actually an awesome painter too. They painted some of our free minis and put them on Discord. The dude's a good painter, and his wife's a kick-ass painter. She painted like a female battle gnome that we have. And she just killed it. It was badass. I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you guys doing? Teaching each other all your tricks? Come on. I'm just going to come up here and hit the tops of this a little bit. Neon as shit. So bright and so vivid. All right. Last but not least, we have not done the base, but we need to do something with these weapons. With our metallics. So, pardon me, holy shit. I'm getting a small brush with a plastic bristles. And I'm going to get a little bit of dark tone. And this is just a quick shade from Army Painter. This is nothing spectacular. And you don't, a lot of people don't use, I don't know what a lot of people do. I don't go to their houses and watch them paint. But what I do is I use this stuff kind of sparingly. I don't use it all the time. So it's kind of dirty and grimy. And if you get it on here in the right frequency and let it dry, it'll fill in all your little cracks and grooves, kind of like a speed paint. But I'm pretty sure these are oil-based. But it'll make them look not nearly as fancy and nice. But you don't want to go overboard with this. And the grimier, the more you use, the grimier it'll look. There's some different ones. There's strong tone, dark tone, flesh tone, and they all kind of add something different. They actually have real uses and purposes, but I don't use them that way. Cleaning that up. And let's quickly get him off of this and back onto the pill bottle so I can work on his base. And something else I want to do. Okay. So I have a bone color of speed paint called Pallid Bone. And you don't need much of it, but I'd like to use it on some of these parts. So I'd like to use it on these skulls a little bit. And again, that was not perfect coverage. I'd like to hit these horns on his head a little bit. And this stuff kind of gets down in the cracks and makes it dark where it should be dark and light where it should be light if you use a thick coat of it. And if you use a thin coat of it, it just kind of seeps in a little bit here and there. And I'm just using a thin coat of it. And I am going to rub it along his belt a little bit in some spots, because I thought his belt was looking a little too uniform. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that at this point. Now, I do want to use that same stuff on the handle here, and I'm using it thickly, and that will fill in the gaps, and hopefully, and I say hopefully because I don't know, I've not used it in this application for such a light color, hopefully that makes this handle look like leather. Like it's got leather wraps on it. That's what I'm going for. Okay? So, we're done here pretty much, except for the base. I'm going to get out one of my Army Painter regiment brushes and a dark brown paint. Now, you could have used a thicker wash to do any of the stuff I did with that strong tone. That's up to you. I didn't even think about like making a thicker wash. I have my own black wash I always use, but it's pretty thin. And this, it wouldn't have been good for this. This is a fairly big bristled brush, but it has a lot of control. And as long as you keep it damp, it'll do a pretty nice job. Now, if this brush dries out, however, I can't promise you a nice job at that point. This one's very reliant on being wet. Probably one of my favorite all-around brushes to use, besides my brush that I saved from the Goodwill. One that I redid myself. I like that brush a lot. though it has no control or anything. It's just a really good workhorse brush. And I use it a lot on terrain and miniatures. This has a lot of control as long as it's wet. Look at me just going right underneath those toes and stuff, no problem. Come around the outside, pluck up that edge. Still tons of paint in this brush too. Love this brush. Getting my favorite color in the whole world, pavement. Didn't clean this brush out. I am going to get it wet a little bit though. So I have some, like I said, control. I'm painting that rock real fast. Then I'm going to use some hot air on this dude. I'm sure I'm missing something, but I couldn't tell you what. Part of you might be thinking this isn't neon enough, but it is. When we get that clear coat on there, clear coat definitely brings out contrast and shine to an extent. So I'm getting a lighter brown. This is called nutmeg. And all I'm using this for is to touch some of the texture on that dirt to lighten it up and make it look a little interesting. And I have way too much on my brush here. You just want a little bit. And you just want to kind of drag that around on there. Catch some of the raised up pieces of ground. Get a little variation. Now, when I do like custom minis and stuff like that, I don't have care about as much. That I don't care how nice they look. I mean, I do, but I don't. You know, I'm just getting them table ready. I do all this when it's wet. And what I do is I just kind of drag it around and let it dry in different tones, and it looks interesting enough. But sometimes I like to go a little bit more and do something like this. Not always, just sometimes. Then we get some of that territorial beige we used earlier and mix it in there. And just hit a couple more spots with that lightly. Okay, then we hit the rock with it. Then I'm going to come back on the rock with light gray. This color is really light. It's called granite. So we're just going to get a tiny dab of it. That's way, way, way too much. We're going to touch that rock. And we're going to just bang it on the ground a couple times. All right. There he is. Now, because we have to show Sweeney that he's neon, we're going to do two things real quick. One, we're going to get that off-white, antique white that I used earlier. And we are going to very, very carefully touch these teeth. Just to make those pop a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to get some clear glue. And a toothpick. And we're going to flock him. So there's a spot here where I touched too much with that light color I don't like. I'm going to pull it around there and get right up against that rock. There's a spot right here. It's a little too dark. And there's a spot back here. I thought that was kind of flat. And then just so that it doesn't look like I did a perfect triangle, I'm going to put some there. Eat flock. Flock. Hot air gun. That flock, all flock is made out of some kind of lumber product, paper, wood, whatever. I've never seen plastic flock. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Clear coat, I'm using Rust-Oleum 2X matte clear primer. And a pair of kids' sweatpants that they grew out of as a sleeve. All right, took us an hour. Not bad. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave me a comment, say something snippy on Discord to my good buddy Sweeney Todd, and let him know that I may not be as good of a painter as him, but I definitely paint. I did not do his buckle. Holy shit, guys. We almost missed that buckle. I'm going to get a gold color since I just grabbed it right here. And let's carefully, very effing carefully. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that. Very carefully do that buckle. Sweet. All right. Ta-da. All right. So buy some miniatures. Yes, these miniatures right here, DungeonSwag.com. There's a discount code, get 25% off the monthly box, which is where you get like this demon came in a monthly box. We also have some one-off sales. If you'd like to try out our miniatures, we do have freebies on there. There's a discount code on our Discord. Both of those links will be in our description, blah, 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 blah. See you next time.